Welcome to Play Attention for your 0 to 3 month old. I'm so glad you're here. You're at the starting point along this journey in core play that we are calling the success path. Now, in this first stage along your success path, you might be feeling as though you want to raise a strong and confident, capable kiddo who's reaching those developmental milestones, but you're just not quite sure where to start. Well, this is where we start, at Play Attention, where we take a closer look at that EAR triangle and what that means for this little human that you have in your care right now. Looking at the environmental aspects, the activity aspects, and the response aspects, all that have to do with having a 0 to 3 month old. So I'd like for you to grab your playbook so we can get started as we dive deeper into the EAR framework and the lens through which we see everything that we do in core play as it pertains to your 0 to 3 month old. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is the environmental aspects of the EAR triangle with your 0 to 3 month old. Now, if you'll remember, when we talked about environment, we're talking about the temporal aspects, the physical aspects, and the personal aspects of having a 0 to 3 month old. Temporal being those routines that you develop in life, the developmental stage that your little one is in, and kind of also the time of day that you're doing life with your little one, what's going on in your daily routines. So let's dive deeper into the routines that you have with little one right now. Now, with a 0 to 3 month old, you might think, I've got no routines, woman, what are you talking about? Well, what's happening right now with your little one is you're beginning to develop routines. Your baby is paying attention to everything that's going on, even though they kind of look like they're just this kind of squishy little sponge just taking everything in. They're actually a little bit more like a sea urchin with these kind of little spiny things that are kind of tuned into all the ebbs and flows of life. So let's dive a little bit deeper into routines and how baby is learning about routines. Simply by some of those things that you're doing and maybe not even paying attention to, baby is learning already about cause and effect. If baby cries, you pick baby up. If baby cries and is hungry, you're going to feed baby. If baby wants to be held or swaddled, you're going to swaddle baby. Baby is taking every little bit of these little cues that they're giving you and you responding them and building kind of like this infrastructure of understanding what life looks like, building routines. So maybe baby sleeps and then wakes up and is hungry. Baby is learning from all those little back and forth cues that he's giving you and you're taking and doing something with. So you're already starting to build the foundation for building routines in your daily life. The second area we're taking a look at underneath environment is the physical environment. Now, when we talk about the physical environment, we're talking about the places where you do life with baby. We're talking about the toys and objects that baby plays with and within. And then we're talking about the people that interact with baby on a daily basis too. So let's talk about places. When we talk about places, we're really kind of talking about your little nest that you've created for your little one in your life, and taking a look at what does the sound volume look like in that little baby's space. What is the light level look like for your little one? Is it conducive for play and for baby to obtain that quiet and alert state of arousal where they're more organized and allow for greater levels of play during their day? Those are things to consider when we're taking a look at the places where baby does life. When we take a look at the objects and the toys that baby plays with, we want to make sure we're focusing in on where baby is on a developmental level, knowing that baby is really, really going to be responsive to things that they see and things that they hear. We want to make sure that we're providing toys and objects that help motivate baby to focus on things, to work on those muscles in their eyes and to make sense of things in their little brains. So those high contrast toys are super great. Those objects that provide that black and white contrast, some really great little rattles are great for little one right now. Some soothing music, that rhythmic sounds are also super great. Oh, we do know that babies do love the rhythmicity of classical music. Now, studies show it won't make your baby smarter, but they sure do like that rhythmicity of it. So if you're someone who really enjoys having music in the background but are worried that, oh my gosh, what kind of music should I play? Studies have shown that playing a little Yo-Yo Ma in the background's probably a good thing. So anyways, sorry, I digress. Back to different toys and objects, because I want to make sure that you know that your baby's favorite toy, your favorite thing to look at is going to be the face of their caregiver. And so faces in general, but especially the face of their caregiver is going to be what their favorite toy and thing to look at is. And finally, the people in their environment are the people that come in and out of your baby's environment, those that allow for comfort and holding. And who are the people? Let's start with that. And finally, the people. Who are the people that interact with your baby on a daily basis, and how are they a part of the physical environment for your little one? Do they come in kind of large and in charge, or do they come in with a soothing presence, and how does that affect the response of your baby? And we'll talk about that a little bit more in a little bit. The next area that we're going to take a look at, the third area of environment, we're going to talk about that personal aspect of the environment, all the feels. So that third area of the environment is the personal environment. This is the part where we talk about all the feels and how we are entering into relationship with our little one in the environments that we have established for them. Now, there's a lot to unpack here in this 0 to 3 month old age for our little one, because there's so much that's new and honestly a little bit terrifying as a new parent. When we know that this early stage, the biggest goal above anything else in this 0 to 3 month old stage is for baby to become organized and to build trust. And that trust builds that bonding between caregiver and child. That's the biggest focus of this 0 to 3 month old time. Parents instinctively hold their baby at a distance of about 8 to 10 inches when they're feeding them, which also happens to be the distance from which a baby can focus their visual attention when they are newborns. Second, a baby prefers the sound of their mother's voice, a higher pitch voice. They prefer that, and they can pick their mother's voice out of a group of strangers. Finally, mothers instinctively mirror the actions and the mouth movements of their baby. Additionally, they mirror the sounds of their baby. They do it instinctively. They do it without being told to do it. And here's the funny thing about this is that this helps build speech and language skills in their baby, and it also helps with building self-awareness as your baby continues to get older. These are all things that you do as a caregiver, as a parent, that are in your genes, that no one has to tell you to do. You're doing it, and baby's responding to it automatically. It's in your identity to be a parent to this child that you have. Next, I want to tell you about where baby is with all of their feels. Now, the funny thing about this early stage of development is that babies act before they think, and parents think before they act. So whether a baby is hungry or tired or bored or lonely, they're gonna cry. And then they're gonna be like, well, what's the problem with me? And then we're gonna say, oh, and as a parent, we act first and we think later. We say, is he hungry? Give him some food. Is he lonely? I'll hold him. You know, we go through different aspects of understanding where our baby is. And baby just knows that if they cry, something's going to happen. But because baby is learning so much about cause and effect during this time, and it's leading change, and they're learning from it, they're going to learn to change the way they cry, change the way they act, based on how you respond to them. And so this beautiful dance that's happening in these first 3 months of your baby's life help form the foundation for that bonding and that back and forth relationship that you're building with them right now. Here's what I know. Is that what feels good during this first 3 months of life, in this personal aspect of the environment that we're talking about, is that serve and return. Baby acts, you respond. Baby responds positively. You feel good. You feel like you're getting it, and baby's getting it, and that your dance is complete. Well, that's going to continue to happen, and that's why we focus on this personal aspect of the environment as we continue to understand how baby develops through lifespan. So we've talked about the 3 areas that we look at when we're talking about environment in the EAR triangle for your 0 to 3 month old. We are paying attention to the temporal aspects, the physical aspects, and the personal aspects that affect our interaction with our little one in this first few months of life. The next area in our EAR triangle we're taking a look at is activities. The next area that we're paying attention to for your 0 to 3 month old when we look at it from the EAR triangle is A for activities. Now, when we talk about activities, there's 3 things that we want to keep in mind when we're talking about activities for a 0 to 3 month old. Is the activity appropriate? Is the activity child-centered? And does the activity involve some aspect of serve and return? So let's talk about appropriateness. Appropriateness of activities for your 0 to 3 month old. Now, first of all, we want to take a look at the sensory processing system of a 0 to 3 month old. Now, when a baby is overloaded, it can look one of 2 ways. Either baby cries a whole lot until they're picked up and removed from whatever it is that's overstimulating them, or they will completely shut down and fall asleep. These are 2 things to keep your eye on when you're wondering if baby is experiencing some sensory overload. Next, when we're talking about the appropriateness of activities, we're talking about the position that baby's in. Is it appropriate for baby to always be in their car seat whenever they are engaging in activities? That's not the case with the 0 to 3 month old. We want the baby to be in as many different positions practicing as possible. So we want to get baby out of the car seat and onto the floor, onto a soft surface when they are playing with different kinds of toys and objects and things like that. Again, getting lots of different environments so that baby can expand their learning skills and make more connections in their brain to create a stronger foundation. And finally, when we're talking about appropriateness of activities for your 0 to 3 month old, we know that baby is really paying attention to things they can see and they can hear. And so when we talk about appropriateness, we want to make sure that we're tapping into those things that baby is going to even attend to begin with. The next thing we're taking a look at underneath activities is whether or not the activity is child-centered. Now, to know if an activity is child-centered for 0 to 3 is a little iffy, but we do know that babies at this age and stage are really into their vision system and their hearing system, and that helps lead and direct their learning. So providing materials, objects, and toys that really focus in on those things is kind of where we want to go. Changing up baby's position also helps with that too. They're going to maintain a more alert and aroused kind of play level when they are more in an upright position. So even just sitting in your lap or just being held in a carrier and looking into their environment is a really great way to maintain a child-centered approach to activity and play. Just being with your little one, them hearing your voice and being able to see what's in their environment is a really great place to start in this 0 to 3 month old age range. And it also helps with building that bond with you because you're close by. We know that in this early stage of development, baby loves to learn and they want more opportunities to learn and they want novelty, things that shift and change in their environment so that they can continue to make more connections in their brain. The consistency, though, is you being there, your voice, your direction, and your help along the way. So knowing that baby wants to make more connections, baby wants to learn from cause and effect. If I do this, then what happens? Baby wants to hear your voice, see your face, and see high contrast. Those are all things to consider when we're taking a look at child-centered activities for your little one. The next area we're going to take a look at is serve and return. Piggybacking on some of the things that we've already talked about and understanding that baby is into cause and effect. When activities involve some aspect of serve and return, especially here in the 0 to 3 month old age range, what we're talking about right now is those beginning stages of communication. Baby makes almost a bid to get your attention. Maybe they make a little squeak or a noise, or they start with those sweet little smiles. And what they're looking for is for you to respond to them. As soon as you hit the go button on that response to them, in the way that you interact with them, you are building a strong brain connection in their little brains. You're building a strong neural connection. And the more consistently they act and you react, and it creates a positive interaction between the two of you, the stronger their brains become, and the stronger their trust relationship becomes with you, and the stronger the bond becomes with you. So, if our primary goal during this first 3 months of life is for baby to continue to develop and become more organized, develop that trust and that bond, serve and return is the way that we do it through all these activities that we're talking about today. So in activity, we talked about how activities need to be appropriate, they need to be child-centered, and they need to involve some aspect of serve and return. The next area in our EAR triangle that we want to pay attention to is responses. The final area of our EAR triangle that we're paying attention to with our 0 to 3 month old is responses. Now, in this early stage of development for our 0 to 3 month old, our baby responds pretty much the same way for everything that they're feeling. Whether they're tired or lonely or hungry or just don't feel good, they're going to cry in response to how they're feeling. Because at this stage of development, babies act first and think later. And that action is crying. But as baby continues to learn through this responsive caregiving relationship of serve and return, and the consistency that you provide as a caregiver in your responses, they learn to change their cries so that you as a caregiver can say, oh, that's their hungry cry, or oh, that's their fussy cry, or oh, they do that right before they're ready to fall asleep, because they're giving you cues to teach you how to care for them. Isn't that beautiful? I love that. Okay, there's one more thing that I want to share with you under responses, under the EAR framework for play attention, and that's something called self-regulation. When we're talking about self-regulation, we're talking about the ability to match your body to the demands of the activity or the environment. So it means, like, as an adult who's neurotypical, if I'm in a business meeting and it's boring as all get out and I'm at peril of falling asleep because it's so boring, I might chew gum or shake my leg or my hand or my pencil or get up and get a drink of water and come back and sit down so I can better attend to the activity at hand. Because what I'm doing is I'm working on matching my body to the demands of the environment and the activity. Now, when we're talking about self-regulation in early childhood, it is simply something that is not attainable for children in these first few years of life. These first few years of life require a child to be able to co-regulate with a trusted caregiver. Now, what I mean by that is almost like a co-calming. They have to borrow from your self-regulation. They have to borrow from your state of calm to be able to calm themselves. That's why babies need to be held. That's why we need to get eye to eye with our kiddo. We need to bring ourselves down and get eye to eye to be able to better respond to the demands of the situation, to help them cope, to help them calm through the activities. Just like if I was an adult in your household and I was in a dark room crying in the middle of the night, losing my mind, crying, you would no sooner leave me in that room to cry by myself than you would your child. And so that's why in these early stages of development, co-regulation is something that our children need from us in response to their inability to match their bodies to their environment. And so I want you to enter into this relationship with your child in these first few months of life, understanding what regulation or calming is, and our children's need to be able to co-regulate or co-calm. Have us as someone who helps walk alongside them and have them borrow from our calm state, so that they can better cope with the demands of their environment, the demands of the activities, and just the demands of what their body is doing that sometimes they just don't have the ability to control at this time. So my friend, we've talked about responses for your 0 to 3 month old. We've talked about how important it is for us to be a responsive caregiver, to pay attention to the signs that our children are giving us so that we can help make changes to the environment and activities so that they can continue that learning process. In this video series, we talked about how to play attention to your 0 to 3 month old, taking you from a place of not knowing where to start when it comes to wanting to help your child succeed on that developmental milestone trajectory, to understanding environment, those temporal and those physical and those personal aspects that influence your child's development, and the activities, both those and the activities, and how activities for your 0 to 3 month old need to be appropriate and child-centered and involve serve and return. And finally, we talked about responses and how responses lead to change. So I'd like for you to grab your playbook and reflect a little bit more on the environment that you find you do life in, and the activities that you find yourself engaging in, and the responses that you're seeing from your little one. Reflect on those things in your playbook, and I'll see you in our next video.